Well, thank you for still staying with us. And really, we would like just to have this an ongoing conversation, and definitely we will ask for your intervention as well. So just feel free just to ask any questions.
Yes. Well, thanks a lot for us making it possible to be here. I'm really looking forward very much to give you some brief insights to a very important matter regarding cybersecurity, which is the human factor in cybersecurity. Not talking about awareness and things like that. We are talking about people. And everyone, I guess, is aware of the current skills gap that everyone is talking about. There's numerous different reports on how the cybersecurity workforce is looking like and how it needs to be developed. But in occasions like these, we are talking very much about, you know, the threat landscape. We are talking about possible ways on how to cope with things. We're talking about things that the government or the academia should do. But we are not talking about the real issues that I guess most of you who are in organizations and responsible for making these organizations secure are suffering from. So some figures that I guess we are all aware of, and 3 words that are describing the current situations in organizations are demand. So the demand is huge. The cost, and we are not talking about costs you got to pay for salaries and benefits. We are talking about costs that are happening if you don't have the right people in the right position. And of course, the competition. And just to give you some brief numbers, so the anticipated worldwide shortage of 1.8 million in cybersecurity professionals, actually this number is outdated already, because the latest report from IHC² says that we are now up to 8 million, up to 3 million shortage. The average cybercrime damage of $6 trillion, and 6 million cybersecurity job openings in 2019. And everyone who is currently recruiting or trying to hire somebody has to be aware that it's not just him who's trying to hire people. There's thousands of other organizations who are, yeah, so to speak, fishing in the same pond like you are. Next slide. So regarding the demand, as I said, with IHC² stated that there's 2.9, well, almost 3 million open positions, and the 1.8, as I said, is a little bit outdated as it's the number of last year. The increase is due to, yeah, big changes that are happening, and of course also the talent pool that is currently available. The good thing is that here in EMEA, the demand is still quite reasonable on the one hand, compared with North America, but still 142,000 open slots. That means that it's really, really tough to find the right people. And well, I guess you are part of these, but half of the organizations globally will have serious trouble in finding qualified personnel to fill their needs. And if they find people, it's also a big question regarding timing, because it usually takes between 4 and 9 months to fill an open role, and up to 6% are not even able to fill them at all. During lunch break, I just had a conversation with a CISO from here in Madrid, and he told me, yeah, I found someone, but it took me 6 months to get this person on board. We are talking about time, right? And you know, there's always these statistics where they say, yeah, it takes us, I don't know, up to 200 days until we are detecting an ongoing breach within my organization. If it takes you half a year to get a person on board who will be able to detect that breach, that adds even more time to the 200 days until it would have been detected if the person was there, right? So yeah, how do these difficulties come from? Well, an easy answer, there's not enough people, right? On the one hand. The second is that, and I hope that some of you deep inside themselves will agree with me, but there's a lot of organizations who are not really sure what they are really looking for. You know, I get approached by potential clients as I am on the recruiting side, and they are telling me, I'm talking to an HR business partner telling me, hey, I need this cyber guy. Well, actually, I don't know what this cyber guy really does, but I need him. And that is a very, very big issue, that lots of organizations do not have a clear view on what they really need. Yeah, you have a whole bunch of skill sets in the wider cybersecurity space, but do I really need someone who is deep in penetration testing if I'm actually trying to fill a person who's going to work in the SOC and is going to do incident response, more or less, right? Or next thing, the combination of knowledge and skills simply does not exist, right? But of course, if you are a CISO and say, hey, I'm going to face these and that issues, of course I need a person who can deal with all of that. But the simple fact is that if you really would find one person who would really fill this 100% kind of dream-like job description, if I would find him, I would keep him, lock him into my backyard and feed him there and try to clone him a couple of times, because this person simply does not exist, right? Another thing which is also, I guess you are all used to it, is due to a real candidate market in the cybersecurity space, salary is a huge issue. The bigger the pain a company has, the more it is more or less willing to pay. And we are talking about salaries which are absolutely outrageous, right? But in the end, if you have to report to your CEO and you say, hey, I need to hire this person, you will in the end have to pay the price, so to speak. Which also means, on the other hand, that you as CISO are paying an incident response manager or a senior incident response manager who's going to be a new hire more than you get. Because that's the market. That's as simple as it is. That's it. And yeah, and the last point in that part is that if I talk to a cybersecurity candidate, I know that this person will have already 5 offers on his desk, sitting right there, just waiting to choose which one I'm going to get paid most. On the one hand, and on the other hand, of course, which job or which or what tasks I'm going to have to do in my new job will be the most appealing to me, right? Thank you. So we are talking about cost. We really make that really short. I know that unfortunately Spain is not in there, but it is underneath Italy. So you beat Italy. And this is just a brief outlook on how much an average breach costs an organization in numerous countries. And we're talking about millions of millions. All right, yeah, competition. I already mentioned it. As I said, there's loads of companies who are facing the same problems like you are. I guess if you guys, as you're sitting here having conversations back in the lunch break around the table, and you are all talking about the same stuff. You know, I'm lacking a person here, I have an open role there, I don't know how to find it. Yeah, so that is why all these security as a service companies are really doing very well, because the only way you guys could cope with issues like that is to outsource stuff. I know there is an ongoing trend that organizations are trying to insource more, because we are all hearing again and again about third-party threats and stuff like that. So it makes absolute sense to do that. But as you see, 70% of all organizations globally are looking to enlarge their cybersecurity staff. And you know, a couple of years ago, every organization was looking for a CISO or for an ISO, however you call it. And you know, because everybody was keen on getting a strategy ready and getting building the first front line to defend the company, as everybody was all of a sudden aware of cybersecurity, because as we all know, cybersecurity is a brand new thing. It just got raised 5 years ago. Before that, there was no cybersecurity nowhere, which of course is a joke. But now what you guys are facing as CISOs is now, of course, you need to build up your teams. And the government has done barely nothing. There is good ideas from the academia, if I will jump on that later. But the people are simply not there. So you are all fighting for all those guys. And now we're talking about the future of cybersecurity talent, and I'm more than happy to hand over to my colleague Eva, who's going to give you some insights into that.
Well, following what you said, Alex, is I think one of the key parts of this is how we're going to build our talent pool. And part of that is what is critical is education. There's a study that from ICT Square that it means that this 50% of the IT company, they're not investing in training programs. And we're seeing that it's becoming better. In fact, there's universities, business school, and we have here Gianluca that he founded the Master of Cybersecurity, one of the most important ones here in Spain with the Instituto de Empresa. But it still is quite new, in fact. So, and this is what means in graduate programs as well. They're getting better, but at least when you join a company and in the beginning of your career path, it will take you at least from 8 to 18 months just to be on board and to be ready just to make a contribution to the team. So then, what happens if there's the onboarding, the training, and the beginning of that path, you don't have the support of the organization? That means that probably it will take longer. So, and we're seeing that those companies that they have evolved development programs and onboarding programs for these people, they reduce this time on 6 months at least, as Alex said and mentioned. Although it's not ideal, but it's getting better, and definitely the return on investment is really good. So, and for us, education definitely is the first step on that. And I also have some discussion during the lunch break, and I see that there's a lot of technical courses, etc., but there's not really a culture of that. And we have to keep in mind that we have to build the future generation. With this 3 million shortage, we have to do something about it. And something about it that means, and besides growing this talent pool, this being inclusive. You know, this is, you know, as representative of my gender, you know, it's 11% of women, of this workforce, they're only women. It's just such a small amount of professionals. And now that we grow until 15% by including legal, compliance, audit, and this is still very reduced. So we have to think about what are we doing just to be inclusive? Are we doing something about that in our companies? How are we making sure we have a diverse talent, not only from a gender perspective, also because in terms of different skills, different mindset, because cybersecurity needs a multi-approach. It needs a global vision, so you need a wide range of people with different skills. So you cannot only think about just graduates or just women, you have to have the whole range. And in fact, because there's limited talent pool so far, and so you need to build on training and build on capabilities, build on also in offering other programs to your people. And this is really something about that, is you have, what we've seen, and we will discuss a little bit more about that, is the development part of or the career development is really important. just to be able to build the future of the security talent. Yeah, I'm just trying. I'm concerned about the timing, so I want to be fast.
All right. So actually, one thing that might be more of interest of you, because you knew all the other stuff, right? So this is now about us trying to help you and give you some advice on how you could do, or how you should define your recruiting strategy in cybersecurity. So actually, when we are talking about key leadership requirements for success within cybersecurity, all these little bubbles, this is actually the skill set that you should have, actually. So you need to be, to put that in one word, you need to be a great leader to attract new hires, and you need to be the one who is capable of talking to the new joiners, onboarding them properly. And one very, very important thing is you gotta be, so to speak, the chief negotiator to HR. Because the problem that some of you guys may face is somebody from HR here. See?
That's probably the problem. Yeah.
Exactly. That is exactly the problem. Because just to give you a very brief story, I talked to a HR manager who I was working with, and she told me, yeah, you know, so I am always doing the first stage interview. I was born in 1968, and I have no idea what these guys are talking about. What should I ask them? How should I be capable of really make a sophisticated choice in saying, yeah, okay, I'm going to push that person forward or not, right? So we really need to involve HR more and put them more on our side. It's very much about communication and about transparency, because of course you challenge these guys, because it's not your job to do the recruiting internally, it's theirs, right? But they of course also on the one hand need a better understanding of what you're really looking for. It's not just a list with a skill set. You really need to sit down with them and tell them, hey, this is exactly what I need. Could you go to the next one? And this is exactly how this process should work like. So you should have a clear view and identify roles. So what are the critical cybersecurity roles to protect your organization? What exactly do these people look like regarding the next point, regarding the skill set? Define the knowledge, define the skills, the abilities to need it, to fill precisely this role. Because the generalist, you will not find him, and the generalist will not have the in-depth knowledge that you need for a certain role, right? Assess your workforce. Measure the current cybersecurity staff in your organization against those roles and skills. Maybe there is somebody who is very skilled and talented and interested in something completely different, what this person is currently doing, but you have the talent on board already, right? So assess the people. Make them, on the one hand, and this is another part where we're going to come to real soon regarding retention, make them happy, develop them. During another conference, I asked the audience whether they are developing their people and sending them to do certain certifications and really, you know, build them up as a cybersecurity professional. And the first question that came up from the audience was, why should I do that? Because when I have developed this person, 3 weeks later, the person will leave. Yes, you're right with that. That's most likely going to happen. But if all of you do that, you're not losing anyone, because you also going to get a new joiner who has been very well educated by your competitor, right? I know it sounds weird, because why should I build up people in order to get new other educated people? But the only way how we are able as a security community to cope with all these issues is a very simple thing. It's communication and collaboration. I know this is a very weird kind of thing, as of course there's different organizations competing with others and all that kind of stuff. But us as the security community, we gotta see ourselves as a cross-sector, cross-organization, cross-company kind of community. I know that you guys are all good, have good relationships with each other, and of course you are, exchanging information and things like that. But if you also put that on a workforce perspective and say, hey, when I gonna build up my, I don't know, 5-6 years experienced person and build it up and enforce them and develop them, I know that the chance that he is gonna move on to another organization is really high. But I'm doing a favor to the community because I will also get back somebody who has experienced the same thing, right? So just briefly regarding certifications, because I know, well, I'm German, and Germans are really keen on titles and are really keen on certificates and all that kind of stuff. But the simple fact is, if you have a huge number of requested or nice to have certificates on your job specifications, I know there is certain certificates you will need because due to regulatory aspects, that's absolutely fine with that. But all the other stuff is all a real nice to have, and don't bother HR with that because they will focus on that. So they will exclude candidates who are not having a CISIP or whatever kind of certificate because they simply don't have it. And honestly, I could, grab a book, learn 500 questions, do a certificate, and I'm done. And I'm not on the operational side, but I do have the certificate here. And just imagine a person, 5 years experience, holding, I don't know, like 15 different certificates. What did this person do during his work life? He learned for certificates, no operational experience, or barely no operational experience. So don't put too much value on these. So key requirements for success in building up a recruiting strategy. As I said, collaborate with HR is really absolutely crucial to be on having one combined mindset and one vision of how a role was defined. Be fast. It's absolutely nonsense to extend a recruiting process for a cybersecurity person over a time period of 4 months. Within these 4 months, this person will get approached, I don't know, 150 times and will have 15 other interviews and will more or less have 10 job offers in that time. Yeah. So be fast in your processes.
In fact, Alex, I would like to ask you, you could raise your hand, the ones that could be recently approached in the last, couple of months. You probably, most of you have been approached at least a couple of times per week, something like that. Although I see you're shy, but I'm sure you are. Yeah, sorry, Alex.
Yeah, no problem. And of course, you also need to sell your organization. No one of these candidates will have applied in your organization. This does not even happen anymore at Apple or Google, right? You will have to sell your organization. You have to point out the benefits. You have to treat these people really well, and you have to build up a, as we call it, a unique candidate experience, right? So this is really important. As we already talked about, realistic job profiles, go down, dig deep, and really define and specify them. A quick move on benefits. Benefits is not only money, benefits is making the offering. Of course, we were talking about certifications earlier, but give those people a chance if they do want to do it. Let them do it. Send them to conferences. Let them build their network. Let them exchange information, and let them, so to speak, dig deep into their interests, because you will be the one who will benefit in the end out of these. Competitive salary, we already had spoken about that. Actually, the competition dictates that sort of for us, but us as an organization, we are currently trying to get an overview on how salary looks like in EMEA to also help you then in the end to give you some info what is a reasonable price or whatnot. And if you are not able, or if you are thinking of moving ahead and selecting a partner who's going to help you in recruiting with that, please do us a favor or do yourselves a favor and select a skilled partner to do that, right? There's billions of recruiting organizations out there saying, are giving you promises and telling you, hey, no problem, in 2 weeks you're going to have a whole lot of profiles. This is not going to happen. Definitely not. Retention.
Yeah, very briefly, because I think, Alex, you also covered some points here that I'm sure you're aware that there's also studies about that. And this is one of the main challenges you're facing, and I discussed that with some of you already, is 70% of people are open just to listen to new opportunities, and 15 they're actively moving, and the other 15, only 15%, they're just, let's say, satisfying their jobs. So for us, definitely it's not only about attraction, and not only about recruiting, it's just be consistent and then engaging your people, because at the end, as Alex said, it's a huge investment. And if you are paying, these high salaries, then you need to make sure this person can bring added value to your organization, and it's a person who can stay in your organization. So that means that we've seen, I passed to this slide like this one. I don't know if you recognize, you think about that. Do you ever think about what makes me stay in my company? Well, according to the studies, it's mainly because it's just challenging, definitely pay as well, but it's because they're happy. And happy means that there's an environment that gives opportunity to innovation, that gives opportunity to grow, that organizations have a clear career paths, that people feel that they can learn from others. And we've seen also that in cybersecurity, you feel that it's very important that the organization really takes seriously what is cybersecurity. In fact, I have some candidates that they told me that they did a current security audit for the next employers. That should take if it was really worth it. I think we're running out of time. That's mainly the summary of what we call is a successful retention. Sorry, because we just want to respect the time here. And career path, communication, and Alex said, definitely. And constant development for them. Just look for other opportunities and challenging tasks and a competitive salary and good leaders. Definitely, you could inspire other people, and it's going to make a change. It's going to differentiate you from other companies. Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about support. I already had mentioned that. I have 20 seconds left. So if you select a recruiter to be at your service, make sure that they are part of the cybersecurity community. They do have to speak the right language, also with you and with the candidates. Make sure that these people are communicating right, that they are really close to you, they give you updates, insight, how does the market look like, how is your brand, that was real fast. How is your brand seen in the market? They need to have a unique approach. You all have experienced these, hey, I have a great CISO job for you and your profile looks awesome, let's talk. This is not the way how you would answer to an approach, right? So make sure that this is really unique and focused. Make sure that those guys have the technical knowledge, that they're really knowing what they are talking about. Of course, and this is the bad, well, kind of bad thing, as always, quality has its price, right? So don't trust a recruiter who's going to offer you an awesome role in 2 weeks with 15 profiles for 12K. This is not going to happen, right? And make sure that the partner you're working with can prove that he has a solid network and the relevant outreach for your organization that you need, right? So, one last slide. What just has happened in the last 30 minutes, as I said, competition, an average of 34 new job posts got online regarding cybersecurity. 8 headhunters got a new assignment, however, how successful that may be. And some almost 450 security professionals got approached by a headhunter. And actually, and sadly, about 17 security professionals just quit their job to start a new career somewhere else. in the past 30 minutes. Thanks a lot for your attention.
Thank you.
I'm really sorry that we were a bit too long.
Yeah, we wanted to give some space for questions, so sorry because we're out of time, but if you have any questions, we'll be here still some time, okay? Thank you.
To also give you the Spanish version. Thanks a lot. It was a pleasure to be here.